Hi, I'm Leanne and welcome to my kitchen. And today we are making another small batch recipe, small batch millionaire bars. They are a buttery shortbread crust topped with some homemade caramel and then covered in chocolate ganache. Well, now you may wonder, why are they called millionaire bars? Well, my best guess, or according to ChatGPT, they are called millionaire bars because when you top that buttery shortbread with that yummy caramel, that decadent chocolate, it just takes them up a notch and makes them taste like a million. I don't know, but anyway, that sounds good. So they're basically a millionaire version of the basic shortbread cookie. We're going to start by making the shortbread layer. Now, shortbread is basically butter, flour, and sugar. So I have 5 tablespoons here of butter. It is softened and it is salted. If you are using unsalted butter, go ahead and throw in a little pinch of salt, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon or so. I've got a 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. And we're going to just take a fork, you can take a pastry blender, whatever you've got, and we want to just combine that all till the butter and the flour and sugar are all combined, and it makes a nice damp, coarse texture. All right, after that is nice and combined and just kind of crumbly, but yet it will hold together when you squeeze it. We're gonna take our loaf pan. I've got a 9x5 loaf pan here. I have lined it with a parchment sling. Check out my video up there if you need to know how to cut this. You really wanna do this because it makes it so much easier to get these bars in and out of the pan. We're just gonna take our crumb mixture and just put it all in the bottom there. And while the crust is baking, we're gonna go ahead and mix up the yummy homemade caramel layer. You want a nice heavy pot to do this in. And we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of salted butter. I've got a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm using light brown sugar. We're gonna put in a tablespoon of light corn syrup. There we go. Get all of that out of there. And then we're gonna use some sweetened condensed milk. Now we're only gonna use a 1/4 cup of this, and so you're gonna have some left over. So you're gonna wanna check out my key lime bars for 2 up there. And also there is a key lime pie that you can make in 5 minutes in the air fryer. Another great way to use up the sweet condensed milk, or even those magic bars. All great ways to use the rest of this. You can also freeze it. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup. All right, I'm gonna just grab a spatula here. And we're gonna take this over the stovetop, and we're just gonna put it over medium high heat. And we wanna bring it to a boil, and then we are going to stir it continuously. Do not let it sit there for about 3 to 4 minutes until it thickens up. So I ended up boiling mine probably about 2 minutes, and my pan's a little bit bigger, and the smaller amounts, it thicked up pretty fast. And then you want to pull it off of the stove, and then just go ahead and kind of stir it or beat it for a couple minutes to get it nice and smooth, and it's going to get a little thicker and fluffier. All right, after you pull it out of the oven, you're going to take a fork, and you're just going to poke holes all over the bottom of the shortbread. And then we're gonna pop it in the freezer or the fridge for about 30 minutes. You wanna cool the shortbread down, and before we put the caramel on, because that will help the caramel stick better to the shortbread. So about 5 minutes before your shortbread layer is done chilling, you're gonna mix up your homemade caramel. And we have got here a 1/4 cup of butter. I'm using salted butter. If you've got unsalted, add in a pinch of salt. We've got a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. We are going to use 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup. All right, get all of it out of there. And then we are going to use a 1/4 cup of sweetened condensed milk. Now, obviously you're gonna have some left over, but don't worry, I've got lots of yummy recipes you can use it on. You want to try the key lime bars up there. So good. Also magic bars. Both of those use sweetened condensed milk, as well as a 5-minute key lime pie that is made in the air fryer. Find that one up there. It's so good. And you can always freeze what's left over too. A lot of times I just freeze it in an ice cube tray and then pop them into a freezer bag, and it's there ready for you next time you want to make some more Millionaire bars. All right, now we're going to take this over to the heat, medium high heat, and you want a fairly heavy pan because this can burn really easily. So you want to stir it continuously. Don't let it sit. You want to stir it. And we're going to bring it to a boil, and then only boil it for about 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half to 2 minutes till it thickens up. And then we'll remove it from the heat. All right, so from the time mine started to boil, kind of around the edges, till I pulled it off, was just only about 2 minutes. All right, it's gonna get nice and thick. And then you're gonna just continue to stir it and kind of beat it for another minute or two. It'll help it just thicken up a little bit more, get smooth and glossy. Depending on how strong my arm's feeling, it may only be about a minute. You want nice, creamy. That beating it after you pull it off is going to help it kind of get a little creamier, smoother, and thicker. All right, and we're going to pull our shortbread out of the freezer, and then we are going to just pour our creamy, yummy caramel right on top of that shortbread. Yum. All right, make sure you get it all out. Now I am going to use an offset spatula right here to smooth the caramel all over the top of the shortbread. It's really good. All right, and then for the chocolate ganache. Now, when we make the chocolate ganache, I'm going to stick this back in the freezer again to help this caramel set up a little bit. So for our chocolate ganache, I'm going to use, I have here 1/2 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You could use dark chocolate chips, you could use milk chocolate chips, whatever your favorite is. And then to help the chocolate kind of melt and become smooth, we're gonna add in a little, I'm using heavy whipping cream. You could also use 1/2 and 1/2. You could probably even just use milk. I just think you get creamier with the whipping cream. I'm gonna use 1.5 tablespoons. Now I'm gonna melt this in the microwave. You could do it on a stovetop and a saucepan too. I'm gonna start out with just a minute, stir it, and then just go about 20 to 30 seconds thereafter until the chocolate's all melted, it's nice and smooth. All right, now everybody's microwave is different. Mine actually, I stopped it at 45 seconds, stirred it. It was almost all the way melted, did it another 15 seconds, and then it was done. And so you're gonna end up with like a fudgy-like consistency. And then we wanna take that and we are going to spread it over the top of our caramel layer. And again, I'm going to use that offset spatula. It's really helpful. You could, at this point, also, you can pull it out of the pan to make it easier. And then I'm going to pull down the sides a bit. The caramel may stick. And then just spread that chocolate on a nice even layer over the top of the caramel. Now the caramel's still gonna be soft at this point, so we're gonna let it sit, put it back in the refrigerator if you're in a hurry, and I would even, to help it keep its shape because it is still soft, I pop it back in the pan and let it chill in the pan, either at room temperature or if you're in a hurry, put it back in the refrigerator. And I'm gonna cut these, I'm gonna show you how amazing they are. All right, one final step before you put them back in the refrigerator here. I took them out of the pan again. I love to sprinkle the top of mine with some flaky sea salt. I love that salt with the sweet combo. And I like to do it while that chocolate is still a little, hasn't totally set up. It's gonna help the salt stick a little bit more. So I just give it a nice little sprinkle of salt. And you can kind of even just push it in a little bit with your fingers. And then we'll pop them back in the pan and let them cool some more. Okay, so our Millionaire bars have set up. Now, the chilling in between each step, what that does is it helps, like I think I said it before, it helps that caramel and it helps the layers to stick together. So don't skip that step. But I have cut these so you can see, look at that. Look at those yummy layers. Now these are really rich, so I'm actually gonna cut them into a little bit smaller pieces, but these are so yummy. Buttery shortbread, homemade caramel, chocolate ganache, a little salt on the top. I mean, what more could you want? So I hope you'll try this recipe. Thanks for being here today. Follow along, turn on notifications. I post a new small batch recipe every week. And thanks for joining me in the kitchen.